here I am. So I was just playing my drum in the background there for a little bit. I was waiting and waiting and waiting, just tickling my tonsils, as it were. So how are you today? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe and you're wearing masks where appropriate, gloves where appropriate, and driving at the appropriate speed appropriately. So we're here today. I've got lots and lots, I'll show you, and lots and lots and lots of pictures today that were sent in by various different people, which is fun. So at some point, I'm going to tell a story. Now, using these, of course. Pull them all out. You know what I do. You've been here before. So welcome to the show, Wednesday Stories. We have lots of pictures to draw from, and I have a couple of stories. I might only do one story today because the one story is quite long, and with all those pictures, I might also have to just do one story. Otherwise, it's going to take an hour, and nobody wants to sit around and listen to me for an hour. Now, one thing was very interesting when I first set this up. I set up my green screen. That is actually green right there, but it looks grey, which is really weird. So I'm not sure what's going on though. I had to turn the green screen off because there's this green bit in my glasses, and it looked like I had a hole in my head going out through the back of my head, which I thought might be a wee bit scary for the people who are watching, especially the wee ones. Mommy, Daddy, that man has a hole in his head. Also, my shirt was kind of like occasionally changing. So, green screen doesn't work for me so much. I have to look at my lights and see what color temperature they are. Hey, Scott! Sorry, didn't mean to shout too much then. So this story is not a story I tell very often. And it's a story that I do like it. I do like it. And it's a very quiet story. Very quiet. It's one of my quieter stories. So I might have to whisper it. Is that okay? This story starts with a rooster, a cockerel, and this cockerel didn't like to do very much work. But what it did like to do, it loved to sing. First thing in the morning, this rooster would be and he would sing all the way through the day. And he wouldn't do anything else. He'd just sing. I started off a bit hard there, didn't I? So this rooster, he'd get up in the morning, he'd start singing way before the sun got up. And he'd be singing all day. And then the evening would come, and he would still be singing and the sun would set and the moon would come out, and he'd still be up on the roof going and it drove people crazy. And they thought he was lazy, and so they kicked him out of town. Just like that. It's true, they did. Excuse me a second. You gotta love live shows, hey? And so they kicked him out of town because they thought he was lazy, because all he did was sing all day. Well, he wasn't the only one either. There was also Toad. Toad. And Toad would sit on his lily pad. Or he'd sit in a freshly ploughed field in the moist earth, gobbling up flies. Flies. Ladybugs. Dragonflies. Oh, yeah. Mosquitoes. He didn't like mosquitoes very much. And he would sit and just hop and eat and hop and eat and hop and eat and hop and eat and hop and eat. And people thought he was lazy, and it drove them all crazy. And so they kicked him out of town as well. And then there was Miss Grasshopper. And Miss Grasshopper, all she liked to do was dance. She'd hop and skip and dance the pirouette and dance around the room and dance around the fields. And she didn't do any work, and all she did was dance the whole day long. Da, 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 da. And she would dance and dance and dance. And the people didn't like it. They thought she was being lazy. And so it was driving them crazy, and so they kicked her out of town. That was all three of them. And they decided that they would try and get back into town. And they decided that they'll try and be very good citizens of their community. Now, they found this old abandoned farmhouse, and they decided that they would fix it up and turn it into a productive farm. and help other people as well. And so they started working on the farmhouse. Now, at first they made sure that the roof was okay, all three of them working there. But once the roof was solid and all the cracks in the windows were fixed, Rooster, he would go out into the fields, and Rooster would use his great long talons to he would plow the earth, plow the ground, and then Mr. Toad, he would follow behind, going planting a seed, planting a seed, planting a seed, and they left Miss Popeyes indoors. And so she was painting the doors and the windows, and she was cleaning stuff up, and she was fixing the furniture that was already in there. And she would make the food for the rooster and for Toad. And at first, everything was going really, really well. They all stuck to their jobs, and they did a great job. But then Miss Popeyes, Miss Grasshopper, she's doing the dishes one night, and she's scrubbing the dishes. I don't know why I'm doing this. Mr. Rooster with his cock-a-doodle-oo, I'm coming home for stew. Putting the dishes away, and then Mr. Toad with his beady eyes, ropping around going, Toad, well, I don't like him very much at all, she said. Yeah, I'm sick and tired of it, she said. Absolutely sick and tired. Yes, I'm sick and tired. I am sick. I am very, 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 very sick. And she coughed so loudly that Toad heard her and came in and said, Are you all right, Miss Popeyes? No, I am not very well at all. Well, Miss Popeyes, why don't you go upstairs and have a little nap, and I'll finish the chores around the house. Me and Rooster, we can sort things out outside. And so Toad went and told Rooster, and Rooster was, that's not very good, is it? No, yes, you go inside and help out Miss Popeyes. And so Miss Popeyes went up to bed, and she slipped into her bed with the clean, fresh linen and pulled the covers up, and she took a little nap. And Mr. Toad started finishing off the dishes to start with, and he started cooking the supper, and then he heard Miss Popeyes calling from upstairs, Mr. Toad, yeah, what? Could you bring me a glass of water? Glass of water, all right. And he'd get a glass of water and take it upstairs to Miss Popeyes. And then he'd come back and he started working on supper again. And Mr. Toad, yep. Could you get me a sandwich, please? I'm a little bit peckish. Well, sandwich, crusts on or off? Oh, off, please. Crust off. Okay. And so he made some sandwiches, took the crusts off, and took them up to Miss Popeyes, Miss Grasshopper. And she was sick the next day. And the next day, except she wasn't really sick, was she? No, she wasn't. She was faking it. But Toad and Rooster, they didn't know. And so Toad and Rooster, they're hanging out together. And, Rooster's outside doing all the yard work. And Mr. Toad's inside and he's helping out Mr. Rooster when he can. And this went on for days and days. And Miss Popeyes, Miss Grasshopper, do you need a doctor? No, I it's a terrible thing. I think I'm actually getting towards the end of my life. What? No, that's not right. Oh, Miss Grasshopper, Miss Popeyes, I'm so sorry, said Toad. No, it's quite all right. We do have a very short lifespan. But no, you can't be dying on us. We like having you around. Could you get me a magazine, please, Mr. Toad? Magazine? Okay. And he get a magazine. Well, Mr. Toad was working so hard, as was Mr. Rooster, that Toad had a little tiny break. And so he thought, well, I'll just make something, I will. And he went to the barn and he looked around and he found this wooden rim. Oh, rim. Rim. And then he saw this old goat skin hanging up on the side of the barn. And so he took the goat skin and he started nailing it to the rim until he had something that looked a little bit like my Bowron. And then he found this stick. He's like, ooh, stick. And he stuck the stick to the rim. Skin on rim, stick on rim, some wires. Well, he made himself a rinky-dink little banjo. And he started playing the banjo. Ding-a-ding-ding-ding. No, he didn't play that song, but he played something else. And he's like, ding-a-ding-ding, 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 ding-a-ding-ding. He found it. He was really good at playing the banjo. He had no idea. And there were people walking by, along the lane, and they heard Mr. Toad's playing, and he saw them. They were dancing to his music. Mr. Toad liked that. But then he heard this tapping. And he stopped and listened. but the tapping stopped. And so he started playing his ding, diggy, ding, diggy, 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 ding, diggy, 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 and he heard this tapping again, and he stopped, and this tapping stopped. Strange, said Toad. Strange. And so he played his banjo again, and the tapping started, and he looked at the banjo to see if there's anything loose, any of the nuts or screws or the wires or anything. The pegs were coming loose, and they were rattling, but nothing was. So he kept playing the banjo, diggy ding, diggy ding, diggy 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 ding, diggy 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 ding, and he made his way to the house because it was getting louder the closer he got to the house. And diggy ding, diggy 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 diggy, and he got onto the porch. Strange, said Toad. Diggy 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 ding. He walked to the front door, and the sound was getting louder. Stranger still, said Toad. Diggy 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 ding, diggy 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 ding, and there was a tapping going on. Diggy 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 ding, and he walked up the stairs. Dunk, 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 dunk. Well, he jumped up the stairs because he was a toad, and he's still playing on the banjo. Diggy 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 ding, diggy 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 ding, and the tapping is getting louder and louder. He's like, very, very strange. And he followed the sound as he played the banjo all the way to Miss Popeye's door. Now, it was an old wooden door, not like some of the doors that we have now, those like fake plastic things. No. This was like a real old door, and the wood had split because it was so old. And so he put his eye up against the door, and you know what he saw? He saw Miss Popeye's, Miss Grasshopper, jumping up into the air, spinning around as she went to land on the other side of the bed. Her tapping was her dancing to Mr. Toad's plucking. And he was not a happy Toad. Why that little... And he kept on playing the banjo, and he made his way back outside, and he went and stuck his banjo down on the doorstep and then bounced over to the field to Mr. Rooster. Mr. Rooster, you'll never believe what happened. Wow, what is it? What is it? Miss Popeye's. She's not sick. Well, that's great news. Why is it bad news? That's great news. She's not sick. Great, that's wonderful. I thought she was dying. No. She's never been sick. She's been having us on. Yo, what? She's been having us on? Yeah. Now you stay out in the field until supper time, and then you come in and have a listen. Just follow the tapping. I'll be playing me banjo, and you'll hear her, and follow the tapping up to her door. All right then, said Rooster. He went back to working in the field. Excuse me. And Mr. Toad went back into the kitchen to keep on getting ready for supper. And supper time came, and he started playing the banjo. And Mr. Rooster heard the banjo playing, and he called, "Well, sounds like supper time. Here I come." And he flapped and walked all the way back to the house. And there was Mr. Toad with his banjo. Diggy-ding, diggy-diggy-diggy-ding, ding-ding, diggy-diggy-diggy-diggy-ding. Ding, diggy, ding. And Rooster heard the tapping. Tap, 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 tappity, tap, 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 tappity, tap, tap. And Rooster stepped onto the porch. Strange. He made his way to the front door. Very strange. He made his way up the stairs. Stranger still. And he made his way outside Miss Popeye's door. He didn't say anything. He just put his black, beady eye against the crack and peered in, just in time to see her pirouette over the bed once more to land on the other side, doing a jig to Mr. Toad's music as he was digga-ding, digga-digga, digga-digga, digga-ding, digga-digga, digga-digga, digga-ding. He knocked on the door with his great fat claw. Oh, just a moment. It's Mr. Rooster here. Just a moment. I'm not decent. Hold on a second. And she jumped into her bed, pulled up the covers. You can come in now. And in went Rooster. So, how are you, Miss Popeyes? Oh, I seem to be doing okay in my last days, she said. You look a bit flushed in the face, if you don't mind me saying so. Looks like you've been exercising. Oh, no. It's just a slight fever. I was just about to call Mr. Rooster to get me a cool cloth to put upon my head, actually. And you seem rather breathless as well. Looks like you've been running around a little bit, Miss Popeyes. Oh, no. It's like an asthma attack. Honestly, it's an asthma attack. I think you've been having me and Mr. Toad on, said Rooster, looking hard at her. I don't know what you mean. How dare you say such a thing, said Miss Popeyes. And Rooster said, we shall see. If I'm coming home for tea, if we shall have some Grasshopper as an hors d'oeuvre. Well, Mr. Rooster, you would never. And Mr. Rooster took his claws and whipped off the covers. And Miss Popeye, she jumped up into the air. You come here, you little rascal. And he leapt over the bed at her because she jumped off the other side of the bed. And she ran around and out the door. You come here. And he started pecking at her. Oh, Mr. Rooster! Peck, 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 peck. Mr. Rooster, will you stop doing it? And she ran down the stairs, and Mr. Rooster was jumping down after her. And she ran out through the door, and there was Mr. Toad with his banjo and his long tongue, when he missed her. Row! But Mr. Rooster chased Miss Popeyes out into the front yard, round and round in circles. Dust was starting to rise up, and Mr. Rooster was getting closer and closer, and he reached his long neck out, but his claw hit a root that was sticking out of the ground, and there was a big pile of rooster dust. Miss Popeyes, boom, leapt high and long and landed in the tall grass. And she's been hiding there ever since. Roosters and chickens, they spread the word around. That's why you put them in a field where there's grass. They peck all the grass. They eat it all up until there's nothing left because they're still looking for Grasshopper. And Toad, he's the same way. If he can get a Grasshopper, he's a happy, happy camper indeed. And that, my friends, is the story of Toad, Rooster, and Miss Popeyes. The end. Rapturous applause. Glad you like it. Oh, you like this story, Stephanie? This is nice. Hello, Miss Minnie. It's nice to see you here. And Sarah Burnett. All these people I haven't seen in a while. And there's Paul. Hey, Paul. I got your pictures ready. Don't you worry. Who's this? Stephanie. I'm glad you like that story. Oh, Mara's here too. And Barassa. Huzzah! Rooster dust. There's lots of rooster dust. There's lots of dust in some... Well, there's not a lot of dust in all my stories. But I do the same thing in the Anansi story. When anything goes flying, it ends up in a big pile of whatever dust because I like that. So, yeah, and there's Jessica as well. My friends. My homies. It's good to have you here. Hey, Sarah. And Robin. Yay, Robin. Hey, Robin. Thank you very much. So what time have we got? 18. Let's see. That's a long story. So I'm only going to do the one story today because this story isn't... It's as much about you lot as it is about me. And it's especially about this lot. So I started off with... I think I had 2 pictures that were left over from last week, which I didn't use. And so I've actually taken 3 pictures out. So if you sent 2 pictures by one of your kids, then one of their second pictures, one of their pictures will be saved for next week. Okay. So if you don't see one of the kids' pictures that you sent me today, it's because I've kept them out because, as you can see, we have a ton. Now, once upon a time, a long time ago, and I will not apologize to anybody if your children make lots of rooster noises and banjo noises. That's the way of the world, I'm afraid. This, once upon a time, a long time ago, there were 2 people. Now, who are these people? Do we have a picture of people? I think we do. Let's say they're just 2 people. Right now, they're just 2 people. And they decided, because it was a beautiful summer's day, that they would go ice skating. And so they went to the ice skating rink and they skated and skated around. I'm not a big fan of ice skating because it hurts my ankles. No matter what kind of boots I try, no matter how I bind myself up in my foot, I still get achy ankles. Although I love it and I'm very goofy at it. But if this was me, there'd be a lot of that. And there would be a poof at the end, because I'd be sliding around on my bottom. And these 2 people, they were ice skating. And once they finished ice skating, they decided that they should go outside because it was a beautiful day like today. At least it is here in New London. And when they went outside, they saw this bird. It was a bird they had never seen before. It was the purple-bellied, blue-throated, yellow-eared, annoyingly long-named grain snatcher. Now, as it happens, these 2 people skating, when they had come out for a snack, they had granola. And this purple-bellied, blue-throated, yellow-eared, annoyingly long-named grain snatcher saw the granola and thought that it was grain and thought, oh, I think I'm going to have some of that. Thank you, Erin, for this picture. And so the purple-bellied, blue-throated, yellow-eared grain snatcher, not to be confused with the blue-bellied, yellow-throated, purple-eared grain eater, or the much shorter, boring grain eater, flew down and started to try and get into the granola. And our two friends, they're like, get away, bird. This bird was huge. I mean, it wasn't just like one of these little tiny, oh, it's so cute. Tweet, 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 tweet. No, this was a, give me your granola now. And these two are like, get away, get away, get away. Alfred Hitchcock is having a run on birds with this. And right after them, right after they started being attacked by this bird, this family came out. This whole family came out. And the family were called the Ties. There was little Ariana, who's also called the Little Monster. And then there was Mally, who's also called the Little Monster. And then there was Mum, or Mummy, who was excellent. And then there was Dad, or Paddy, who was a lot of trouble. We're going to keep this out for a little while. And they were able to scare that bird away. And they said, are you two okay? And they're like, yeah, sure. We're sure. We're absolutely fine. And just then this helicopter flew down. And that they were going to take people on rides. So this family, the Thai family, and our two friends, they got into this helicopter and they flew away. Where were they going? We don't know. Not yet, anyway. As they flew over these beautiful, beautiful trees with these amazing magical fruits. And when they saw these trees, these were called the Tatiana Trees. When they saw these trees, they asked if the pilot of the helicopter, the Huey, could drop them off. And so the helicopter lowered itself down and they started walking in amongst the trees. Now they were looking at these fruits thinking, are they edible or are they poisonous? But because if you go into the forest and you don't know what you're eating, you really should not eat what you don't know. So they didn't eat them, but they smelled absolutely gorgeous. And then, wow, look at this. This is excellent. This is by Becca. Thanks, Becca. Out from behind one of these beautiful trees came this elf. And the elf was like, peeking around. Hello. Watching him. And Mum Ty, she saw the little elf and she said, oh, it's all right. You can come here now. Come on over. We won't hurt you. And Ariana, her eyes were getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And Mally, he wasn't so sure, so he kind of stood next to Dad, Paddy, Ty, and keep himself safe. But the little elf came to us and said, it's all right. It's all right. You can eat the berries. They're very, look. And the elf reached up because it had big, long, stretchy arms, really long, stretchy arms, and it pulled some of the fruit down and ate some of it. And then it gave some of that fruit to the people that were there, our two friends. And then it turns out that the little elf had a little house. And so they went into this little house. Paddy had a bit of a problem because Paddy was a big lad. Dad, Ty, that is. But Mally and Ariana and Victoria Ty, Mum Ty, they were all able to squeeze into that little house. Paddy stood guard outside because his bottom was a little too big to get through the little elf hole. But inside, they had this little dog. The elf had a little pet dog. And the dog was in the painting room. And the dog was called Pip the puppy. And there he was in the painting room. And I think that Finley, from Charlestown, South Carolina, I think he likes alliteration, and he's only 8, so I love that. Pip the puppy in the paint room. Lucky it wasn't a paint pantry, because that would be a real tongue twister. So the kids and our two friends, they all decided that they would do a little painting, which they did. And the elf and Mum Ty started to talk, and the elf told Mum Ty all about this mermaid. The mermaid's name was Pretty. Isn't that cool? That's a cool mermaid. I like that a lot. And this is by Saoirse and Monique. So thank you very much, Monique and Sorsha. This is a really cool picture. And I know it's from them because their name's at the top of the picture. And the elf was telling the family and our two friends that nearby there's this lake and there are mermaids in it. And they were like, no way. And the elf was like, yes way. And the family was like, no way. And the elf was like, yes way. And the dog's jumping up and down. And so they decided to go to the lake to see if they could find Pretty the mermaid. So off they went. And as they were making their way to this lake, they came across a little boy sitting under a rainbow, and his name was the real Joshua. The real Joshua from Brixton in England. Yeah, and he was holding up a rainbow, and he says, the mermaids are not playing today. And they were like, what? What do you mean the mermaids aren't playing today? He's like, no, kidding, they are. Come on, have a look, come on, have a look. And so he set down the rainbow, and they all went to the lake to have a look, to see what was going on there. And the mermaid was swimming, and she jumped out of the water and dove back in like a breaching whale, a very slender, very pink, bubbly kind of whale. And after they watched that for a little while, all these other woodland creatures started to come out. And all these other little woodland creatures, they started to hang out with everybody. And some of them began to swim as well. This one was swimming and this one was swimming. Sizaji, aged 8, from Sudbury, drew these wonderful, wonderful characters. And some of them went swimming. The others just looked on to make sure that there were no accidents. And then the elf and Mum Ty went back into the little wood thing, and they got a big table out, and they started to cook meal. Now Paddy, he was good at grilling, and fortunately the elf had a really rather large grill, and so they started grilling this big supper. And hang on, there is one I want to bring out. And so they ate this wonderful, wonderful meal. Where is it? They had this really wonderful meal. I think I'm gonna have to save it for next time. It's one of the other pictures. So they were there. They were eating this wonderful, wonderful meal. When out from between the trees came King Catfart. I want some food, said King Catfart. He broke wind. Well, everybody was horrified. I mean, the family were horrified. The royal family. This is another royal family. They were horrified. But King Catfart, kept breaking wind. Dust was raised up in the air. The leaves were blown off the trees. And King Catfart said, ha, 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 you have to give me some food now. And everyone's like, no, we're not going to give you food. I mean, you haven't even eaten anything yet, and you're breaking wind all over the place. This is disgusting. Stop it now. But the cat wouldn't. And so what happened was they decided to play a game with him. They decided to play a murder mystery. And what they did was, there's all these great pictures in here. There's the outline of the body. They put King Catfart in there. And then they made sure that line was actually in a very small closet, and they shut and locked the door. And then just to make sure, they jammed the door lock shut with the knife. They broke the knife off in the lock so he couldn't unpick it. And then they took the rope, which is supposed to, it's kind of a dark picture, this. They took the rope and they tied it around the door handle, and then they went across the room and tied it to something else that was on the wall. It was like a coat hook or something like that, and they tied it so if the door opened, it would still be jammed so you couldn't get out. And then they put the suitcase, there's a suitcase there, I don't know if you can see that. They put the suitcase up against the door, and they got this snake, and they tied the snake up to another part of the rope which waited outside the door in case King Fart Cat came out and the snake would bite him and scare him away. And meanwhile, they stuck a guard right there. Yes, with a keyhole in their chest. That's what I'm saying it is. Yes, that's what I'm saying it is. And they all ran out of the house. They opened all the windows first to let the air run out of the house. I'm not going to end with that. And after they'd done that, as they were running through the woods, do you know what they came upon? This is one of my favorite pictures for today. What they came upon was Baba Yaga and her chicken house. Emma R. in Fairfax, Virginia. You know you did this. I love this picture. And this is apparently a Moltres from Pokemon, but I like to think that it's a three-headed golden hen that lays golden eggs. And as they're walking through the forest, they saw Baba Yaga, and everyone was really scared because Baba Yaga, she's a scary, scary witch. And she had the first mobile home. You know that, right? She did. She had the first mobile home. It was on chicken legs. So anytime Baba Yaga wanted to go anywhere, she would just tell the house to move, and the house will go. It would off it would go. That was the first ever mobile home. It's true. And so when they saw Baba Yaga and the hut coming towards them, they were really, really scared. And so Mally, because Mally plays Pokemon, maybe Mally decided to conjure up this Moltres, and the Moltres appeared out of the sky and attacked Baba Yaga and her cottage. And then, yes, there's more, not very much more. And then they all climbed upon the back of that Moltres because it was a bit big. It was absolutely blooming huge. They climbed on the back of it, and the Moltres took them on a tour of the world. And they flew to some wonderful, wonderful places where big flowers grew. And they landed on one of the biggest flowers in one of the most beautiful places in the whole of the world called Scotland. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. And yes, I will agree with Sarah De Beer. She said, so many exciting pictures today and a fabulous, well, I'm not sure the story was fabulous, but it was certainly fun. And there were, and farts do win every time. You can't go wrong with a good fart, can you? Yes. Hey, Mo, I didn't write this. I didn't call it a cat fart. The cat fart was called that. Anyway, yes, let's get rid of that. We don't need to see that. So thank you to Monique from Scotland for our picture of the globe. Thank you to Emma R. in Fairfax, Virginia for her phenomenal picture of Baba Yaga and the Moltres and the chicken house. And thank you to, I've got to pick all these up now. Thank you to Sazaji of Sudbury, Vermont, aged 8. And thank you to Ariana, my niece, and her family, to make fun of them because, you know, I can do that. And thanks to Sadie in Vermont for this wonderful murder mystery, which really helped me out, actually, because I wasn't going anywhere with that fart cat, was I? Thank you to my cousin, Joshy, in Brixton, London. And thanks to Monique and Saoirse with the Pretty the Mermaid. And let's get the rest of these. There was a lot of pictures today. There were a lot of pictures today. Finley, Charleston, South Carolina. Pip the puppy in the paint room. I love that alliteration. You can't go wrong with alliteration. Jubal. We won't say where you're from. We won't give it away. We'll keep it top secret. There it is. King Fart Cat. Can you read that? Cat farts, sorry. So there he is. Jubal, you're my man. You know that. You know that. Man after my own heart. Always looking for a fart. And thank you to Becca for this amazing elf. I love that elf. And thank you to Erin L. for her annoyingly named purple-bellied, blue-throated, yellow-eared grain snatcher. Let me know if you see one in the woods. They're huge. And isn't there a picture? I think I missed out a picture. Oh, one of them fell out of the bag. I'll use it next week. I promise. And then my other nephew. This is my other niece, my nephew Mally, with his helicopter picture, which I loved, in the trees. And then there's the ice skating from Ethan in Fairfax, Virginia. And then this awesome picture from Tatiana of these beautiful, beautiful trees. That's another really cool one. So I got apologies to Maggie in Vermont, but tune in, Maggie, for next week, and I'll add your picture to the story then. It fell out of the hat and I didn't notice it. And I can't add it into the story now because that would be not very good. So anyway, Stephanie says Liam. Liam. What did Liam do, Stephanie? Because I thought I'd written all the names on the back of these properly. What did Liam do? There's a delay. We know that. Anyway, thank you so much indeed for being with me today and for hanging out with me. I do enjoy making up these stories. It's a lot of fun for me, and I hope it's great fun for you and your kids. Like I said, I do not apologize for any cock-a-doodle-loos or diggy-diggy-ding-ding, diggy-ding-ding banjo noises or anything else. It's always great to have you here. Leave comments. Remember, send pictures for next week. The sooner I get them, the better organized I can be, because, not all of us are that organized. So see you next Wednesday. Oh, before I go, I'm not doing conversations with storytellers. I have a new show which started a few weeks ago, actually, and it's called Friday with Friends. And some of my storytelling and musician friends are joining me on this in this strange place that we are every Friday. The time varies a little bit because it depends on people's availability, because these are all also very busy people. But this Friday we're going to have two. My good friend Andy Davis, who lives in Conway, New Hampshire, almost up near Canada, but not quite. Andy Davis is going to be joining me at 7 o'clock on Friday, and the legendary, the one and only, the wonderful, the big smiley Donna Washington will be joining me at 12 noon. So if you want to get together with Friday with Friends, 12 noon with Donna Washington and Andy Davis at 7 o'clock Friday night, be great to see you there too. Be well. Take care. See you. Tra-la-la.